We're going to discuss this with Filiz Katman. She's the president of the Energy, Politics and Markets Research Center at Istanbul Aydin University. Filiz, thank you so much for speaking to us on TRT World. Now, we know that Syria is a country that is rich in oil and gas, but it is going to need the help of its neighbors and the international community to rebuild the economy. We're hearing this Monday that Qatar is interested in investing in something like the energy sector, and that sort of expertise is going to be pivotal for Syria going forward.
Yes, definitely. I was mentioning about Syrian oil reservoir in comparison to Middle East oil reservoir. It is comparatively limited capacity, but still it is something for Syrian treasury, and it is definitely the regional cooperation is vital, and Qatar is very vital in this manner. In order to contribute Syrian economy, there should be a kind of cooperative manner. Turkey has already announced with regard to capacity to help to reconstruct Syria. But with regard to energy sector, of course, Qatari cooperation, the contribution made by Qatar will be very, very vital. But still, we have the problem with regard to PKK, PYD. So when that issue is also resolved, the Qatari contribution will be very, very pivotal for the Syrian economic recovery and generation of income for Syrian treasury.
Now, Filiz, inflation in Syria last year was about 141%. That's compounded, of course, by over a decade of civil war and international sanctions. What should be the immediate priorities for the interim leadership to be able to get this economy going again?
Yeah, of course, with regard to the regime, the Assad regime's corrupt way is the main reason for this hyperinflation. It should be considered in that manner. But when we think about the current situation in Syria, definitely sanctions should also be put into picture. So when these two elements are taken out from the picture, definitely there will be a positive impact in Syrian economy in order to combat against the hyperinflation. But there should be a total perspective which will consider regional countries' contribution. It also requires leading countries' contribution to the Syrian economy. So lifting sanctions is very vital to counter inflation problem, and corruption, removing the corrupt mentality in the Syrian economy will also be positive impact, and definitely a kind of package, the aid package that will be provided to Syria will be very, very vital in order to counter hyperinflation, and definitely the flow of goods to Syria and also production in the factories in Syria will be other elements that will go hand in hand with the items that I have counted in the number 1, number 2, and number 3. In general, there should be a wide perspective which will cover all these elements. And with regard to Syrian people going back to country, there will be a workforce who will be ready to work at the factories, but it will be a kind of mid-term and long-term perspective in order to counter against hyperinflation in Syria.
Yeah, it's still a long road ahead to get that economy back on track. Filiz Katman, appreciate your expertise and time. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.